Hi, Ward Cameron here, and if we haven't met before, I'm a naturalist, guide, photographer, and storyteller based in the heart of the Canadian Rockies. For the past 35 years, I've been sharing the stories of the natural and human history of the Canadian West with visitors from all over the world. I also produce the Mountain Nature and Culture podcast, and this regular feature keeps you up to date on current research, wildlife ecology, cultural history, and tourism opportunities throughout the Canadian West. This has been one of the most difficult times for people like us that love the out of doors. Being limited to neighborhood walks can feel like being, in a way, a bird in a cage. As an educator, I look around me and I see stories. I see the story of a flower blooming in the spring. I see the story of the seasonal journey of a robin, and I see long dormant trees feeling the warmth of the spring sun and responding by extending their roots and sending out new leaves. How are you doing right now? This pandemic has thrown all of our lives and all of our futures into limbo, and in some ways now one day can simply flow into another day of isolation and frustration. If it's any consolation, we're all bummed. The coronavirus has kept us all trapped inside while the natural world just keeps on keeping on. At the same time, nature keeps hiding its stories, waiting for us to discover them. This unplanned pause in my life, it's forced me to think about what I can do every day to make me a better naturalist, guide, storyteller, and mentor. I realize that everyone else is also in the same boat. What if we created a community of lovers of nature and culture and found a way to collaborate and to turn this into an opportunity for growth? I started to think about ideas that I might share, ideas with you on how you can take this time you never planned for or wanted, but take it anyway and leverage it to improve your knowledge of the landscape around you, the stories of the people that came before you, and the daily changes that are always happening if we take the time to notice them. As a guide, I tell my clients that my job is simple. I sell wow. But sometimes it's hard to feel that right now. I'm hoping to help you see your time trapped within walking distance of your driveway and help to make it transformational. Are you going for walks right now? If you are, in addition to your awareness of personal distancing, why not throw a few extra things into your backpack? A pair of binoculars, a flower or bird book, a journal, a magnifying glass. Right now, nature's current events are happening all around us. The migration is taking place. A few weeks ago, I saw my first robin of the year. A few days ago, I heard my first robin sing, and they've now transitioned from travel mode to now looking for mates and nesting sites. Try to pay attention to the new arrivals. Over the past few days, I've heard my first pileated woodpecker drumming. I've seen my first osprey on the nest, and just the other day I was out walking, and all of a sudden an osprey had caught a fish in the Bow River that must have just been a little bit too heavy for it, and so it flew onto the bank to take a rest, and it landed right near to where we were. And there we were, just a few meters from the osprey, as it sat on the end of the bank and caught its breath, and then all of a sudden it just sort of leaned off the edge and spread its wings and took off with that fish still firmly grasped in its talons. These are the things we want to notice at this time of year. So we want to look for the new arrivals. What other new arrivals have you noticed? The Canada geese are back. There's all kinds of new arrivals coming in every day. Look for the changes. Remember that nature is a procession. Nature happens over time. And as new birds come, they're followed by other birds. So the robins are the harbinger that begin that procession of migratory birds, and then the migration is replaced by the procession of nesting, and then the nesting is replaced by the procession of fledging, and then migration again. So always pay attention to the changes. Look for strangers. Migrations are messy. Sometimes with bad weather, a bird can be pushed off course, and sometimes we can be lucky enough to have a stranger show up in our midst. So always keep an eye out for something that doesn't belong, because that can be some of the most exciting of sightings. The plants are also starting to awaken with this spring. Look for budding heads. Look for these flower heads that are just starting to come out. If you are wandering along the sunny south-facing slopes, you'll notice that the prairie crocuses have come up. In places like Calgary and Nose Hill, places at lower elevation, the crocuses have been out for a while. So keep in mind that every location is going to have a different schedule. So here in the mountains, the crocuses have just started to arrive, which means we're going to be seeing all kinds of new flowers starting to come out. So when you're walking, look for the plants that are beginning to arrive. Every time you go out on that neighborhood walk, ask yourself what's changed. What's new today? And in that way, just like with birds, you'll start to understand and you'll start to get a handle on that constant procession of plants during the course of the season. What's the sound that you're hearing? You know, one of the things about walking, and so many of us when we're doing our walks right now, it's our fitness. So we're out there with purpose, heading out on the neighborhood. That's fine. It's important to get that fitness. But then once you've done your exercise, do something crazy. Do the walk again and focus on everything around you. Focus on your hearing, your smell, your peripheral vision, because so much happens in our periphery. But listen for every sound. If you hear a bird that you don't know, take some time to explore and see if you can actually discover who makes the sounds. Because our soundscape is such an integral part of our landscape. When we go out for a walk, we can turn every call, every song, every twitter, every tweet, every squirrel chatter, every elk bugle into a friendly sound and a feeling that identifies our home. And we can also begin to recognize the annual cycle as those soundscapes change as animals and birds go through their typical life cycles. As you go for your walk, if you see an animal, ask yourself, why is it here? Because the answer matters. Every animal, every bird, every plant is going to be in a particular location because that location provides some benefit. If you have an animal that is hanging out in an area, it's because it's going to provide protection from predators. It's going to provide food. It might provide a place for denning. It might provide a place to find a mate. So why an animal is in a place matters. If you remember a few years ago when Bear 148 got into trouble repeatedly because it kept coming back to Canmore, to particular areas of Canmore, it was because those areas provided the most important seasonal food for bears in this area to help them build their fat layers for winter, a plant called buffalo berry. Buffalo berries grow in very specific places. So when you see an animal, ask yourself, why is it there? Get to know your ecological neighbors. At this time, it's important to know our real neighbors, especially if there's somebody that might need assistance during these difficult times. You can get groceries for seniors. You can help the people around you. But in your neighborhood, there are also all your ecological neighbors. What does your neighborhood smell like? Smell is the sense most tied to memory. My father was a pipe smoker, and while almost nobody smokes a pipe these days, if anyone lights one up, I'm instantly taken back to fond memories with my father. Smell sticks in our heads. In this area, for me, in terms of my neighborhood smell, it's the wolf willow. The wolf willow is a tall shrub. It's not overly dramatic, but it has small tubular yellow flowers. It has silvery willow-like leaves, and it grows along the river valleys here. And while it's not overly spectacular to see, when it comes to its scent, it punches outside of its weight class, and it provides this incredibly sweet but pungent smell. And for me, that smell defines the montane valleys of the Central Rockies. That is the smell that for me always will make me feel like home. What does your neighborhood smell like? How does the smell change through the season? And every local habitat will have a different smell. Try to use all of your senses as you explore your landscape. If you have a chance, talk with an elder. Elders are the keepers of our history, and while we can't necessarily go and visit elders right now, we can talk to them on the phone, we can have Zoom meetings, we can have conversations. When it comes to hearing the stories of our past from the people that live them, if there's one thing COVID-19 has taught us is that those stories have an expiry date. Those opportunities have an expiry date. Stories live as long as the people who lived them live, or as long as the people that loved them shared them. I was lucky enough last year to take a tour of the local Canmore mining history with mine engineer Jerry Stevenson. And Jerry was the encyclopedia of Canmore mining history. He was a mine manager for many years, and his historical tours taught people like me that have lived here 35 years things that I never knew about my local home. He built Quarry Lake out of an old open pit mine, and having the opportunity to hear those stories from Jerry has changed my perspective on Canmore and its history. So Jerry's stories, I guarantee you, will be living for a very long time because of all the people he touched and all the people that continue to share his stories. Pay attention. When did you see your first robin? Your first Canada goose? Your first red-breasted nuthatch? You don't know your nuthatches? That's all right. I'm here to help you with that. The idea is take this time to become newly familiar with this place that you call home. I'm also developing some new educational tools. When I was in university and I had to study for biology exams, I would create flashcards. Flashcards were an index card with a question on one side and an answer on the other. And as I slowly kept rotating through the cards, it helped me to learn the material that I was going to need for exams. Well, I'm trying to create a new set of flashcards with a digital twist, because I realize that if I can't explore, I want to be renewing my knowledge and expanding my knowledge. So the first deck I've created is a deck of wildflower cards. And it'll show you a photograph of a wildflower, and you have to guess that wildflower. It may show you the flower, it may show you a berry, it may show you the seed pod. And once you make a guess as to what that plant is, it'll give you the answer, and it'll give you some information on the ecology of that plant. And if it's a plant you know inside out and backwards, like the Prairie Crocus, well, you can tell the deck that you don't need to see that for a while. And it'll put that card into the back drawer for a few days. And that way it'll let you focus on those plants that you're trying to learn, or perhaps those old friends that you're trying to reacquaint yourself with. I don't get out all the time. And there are certain habitats that I don't visit as much as I would like to, particularly the alpine. So the first time I go hiking in the alpine some years, I meet an old friend, a friend that I know, but its name is just not on the tip of my tongue. And so this deck is helping me to keep that brain fresh, to keep me up to date on those wildflowers. I'm also creating one on bird songs and calls. As we walk around the neighborhood and we hear all those sounds, this is one designed specifically to help you get to know our soundscape. As a naturalist, I'm by nature a generalist. And as a generalist, when I started my career, there were two kinds of naturalists. There were those that looked up at the birds, and there were those that looked down at the plants, and I was the latter. I'm an okay birder, but I'm a mediocre birder. I'm good with common birds. When you get into warblers, sparrows, flycatchers, I'm lost. But for many of those birds, it's the sound that is the most distinctive and the most easily identified. And this deck will help you learn that. How do you get them? It's simple. I'm just giving them away. Go to mountainnaturepodcast.com and sign up for my newsletter. And the reason I want you to sign up for the newsletter is with this initiative, that's how I'm going to stay in touch with you. At the same time, these decks of of digital cards. They're going to be a living, breathing, growing thing. They're going to change and evolve as I learn more, as I get feedback from people that are using the decks. And so it'll allow me to send you up-to-date decks as the project goes on. So go to mountainnaturepodcast.com and subscribe. I've also created the Mountain Nature and Culture Book Club. If you go to Facebook and go to Mountain Nature and Culture Book Club, you can join. We're starting with the book Firestorm by Edward Struzik, which is a critical book on fire ecology in the West. And as we sort of spend our time right now, if there's one thing we have is time, and fire season is going to be upon us, and fire ecology is a critical thing that we all need to be learning more about. And Edward Struzik's book is fabulous. So come and join us. At the same time, I've created the Mountain Nature and Culture Facebook page. Because I want this to be a community of involvement, this particular Facebook page is designed as a place that we can share knowledge. We can share interesting articles on the natural human history, the culture, wildlife biology. It's a place that we can share ways that we've learned and had an experience that was unique to us. And we can share some of those skills and tools that maybe we've stumbled upon. What is your COVID experience? Every single one of us is having a different experience right now. And one of the exciting things is you may find a transformational moment in your experience. And if you can share that with us, I'm trying to find ways that I can help as many people as I can. But every single one of us is having our own unique COVID experience. What was your experience? What did you learn? What did you do differently that led you to a new area of understanding and knowledge? If you've had an experience like that, share it. Where do we go from here? I don't know. This is just a beginning, I hope. This is an opportunity for people that love nature to get together, to collaborate, to grow, to mentor each other. So if you enjoy this video, please share it on your social media. The more people that we can bring into this, the more opportunities we all have to grow. Be sure to tell your friends this is an opportunity to create a community. Let's do this together. I'm Ward Cameron with the Mountain Nature and Culture Podcast, and I look forward to learning with you.